Alrighty, chicos, bienvenidos a otro episodio. I'm gonna make myself smaller. Aquí estamos con por versus para. Which for is it? I know we briefly went over this ayer. If you're doing this on Tuesday, briefly touched on it. I told you guys your tarea is this episode, so we're going to get started. Como siempre, por favor, toma apuntes. Take some notes as we go. That way, you have access to this and you remember it later on. I will be sharing these slides, but while we go through this Edpuzzle, please take some notes in addition to answering the questions on the Edpuzzle, okay? Por and para, it's a 50-50 shot always, but I want to make sure we know the reasons, kind of like our pretérito versus imperfecto, the reasons behind why we're picking what we're picking, okay? Which for is it? Here we go. Cuando lo usamos? We use por and para both for movement, time, and action. So again, if you want to write down this little beautiful chart here, you go ahead, be my guest. I'm going to move myself up here. That way I don't get in the way of things. Okay, so movement, meaning for por, through or by place. Okay, we use por when we're talking about through or by a place. Now, I will get into a whole acronym on when we use por and when we use para. This is kind of just a general speaking thing. So if you don't want to write down all these examples, you definitely don't have to, but just follow along as best you can. So, la excursión nos llevó por el centro. The hike, the excursion took us through the town square, the center, okay? The el centro, I don't even know how to say it, okay? The middle of the town, el centro. Por, meaning through or by a place. Whereas para now indicates towards a direction, okay? Not necessarily through, but towards a direction. For example, mis amigos van para el estadio. My friends go to the stadium, for the stadium. The stadium is the destination. Therefore, we're going to use para to indicate said destination. Moving over here to time, duration. We use por always for duration. And again, I'm going to go through some acronyms. So this is just kind of a general overview of when we use each one. Ana navegó la red por 2 horas. She navigated the internet. She went on the internet for 2 hours, meaning a duration of time. Whereas para is the action or the deadline, not duration, the deadline. Tengo que escribir un ensayo para mañana. I have to write an essay for tomorrow. It's due tomorrow. That's the deadline. Not necessarily duration of time, but a deadline. See the difference? And last one, action, reason or motive for an action or circumstance. So, llegué a casa tarde por el tráfico. I arrived home late because of, due to, this was the reason behind it, the traffic, right? There's a reason or the motive behind my por, in this case, was because of the traffic. Whereas para is an indication of for whom something is intended or done. Estoy preparando una sorpresa para Eduardo. I'm preparing a surprise for Eduardo. Eduardo is my recipient of this action. I'm indicating that it is for this person. That's the action behind it. So again, difference between por and para there. General overview. You do not need to write down all these examples, but if you'd like to, be my guest. We're moving on to the acronyms now, okay? Acronyms to help us remember when and why and examples, all that fun stuff. So, you start off with por. Por with this dog and this cockroach because my acronym, just go with it. This is copyright Sammy Townsend. My dog runs over bugs even underground. Yes, even underground. This talented dog right there, okay? Every word stands for something. You don't necessarily need to remember this acronym, but you do need to remember the reason. So if you want, use it. Here we go. Movement. Around, through, along, by. Okay, por can mean around, through, along, or by, any of those, because it deals with movement. So let's take a look at an example. Pasamos, and I'm in the way, pasamos por el parque y por el río. We pass through, we stroll through the park and through the river. We stroll around the park and around the river, along the park and along the river, by the park and by the river. It can mean any one of those words, okay? But movement is our thing here. And again, we kind of already touched on this on the last slide. D is for duration of time. And again, already touched on it, but these are your reasons. So this is what I expect to see when I ask you, why are you using por? You're going to tell me movement, duration of time. For, during, in. Estuve en Mexico por un mes. Ooh, pretérito. Why am I using pretérito here? Because duration. Hello, right? Duration of time. So boom, I'm using por because duration of time, and boom, I'm using pretérito because duration of time. It's completed action. I was in Mexico for 1 month. Duration of time. R is for reason or motive, because of, on account of, on behalf of, meaning lo hizo por su familia. So somebody, I don't know, él, ella, whoever, did it for his or her family, right? That was their reasoning behind it. They are the motive. It was because of them. It was on account of, or on behalf of the family or their family. Por. O is for object of search. What are we in search of? Manuel fue por su cuaderno. Manuel fue por su cuaderno. Manuel did what? Went for, or in search of, is notebook, right? So all these por can just be replaced by these words in parentheses here. And again, if I'm going too fast, remember, this is a video. You can pause me. But make sure you get the examples, get at least this part, okay? You're going to need these keywords right here. Not necessarily in parentheses, but definitely those ones in bold. B is for by means of, by way of. Ellos viajan por la autopista. Autopista. We did this very briefly last quarter when we did the map activity. Autopista is the highway. Okay, so ellos viajan por la autopista. They travel by the highway, or by means of, by way of the highway. You could also say por avión, airplane, por tren, por coche, carro, auto, whatever, by means of. This is their way of getting around. E is for exchange for, or in exchange for. Substitution, in exchange for. You're going to hear that one a lot. Le di dinero por la cámara. I gave whoever that applies to, I gave this person money for the camera, in exchange for the camera. There was an exchange that happened. I gave someone money, I got a camera. Exchange. See, in exchange for, or a substitution for. Yes, it means for, but make sure you know which for is it. And the last one is unit of measure, per, by. Jose manejaba a 120 kilómetros por hora. Jose drove at that many kilometers per hour, by hour, right? Just like in English, we say per minute, per hour, per second. Por in this case, meaning by, or our unit of measure. And this is por. My dog runs over bugs, even underground. Yes, just go with it. Again, I definitely made this up, so just go with it. Moving on to para. Para. Again, notice my pictures. Hint, hint, wink, wink. Dumb drivers in places race cars early because by my house, they just wake me up. Might have been inspired by my home. Okay, again, same thing here. We got D, D, I, P, R, C, and E. D for destination. Tours are in the direction of. As in, salimos para Córdoba el sábado. We are leaving, or we leave for Córdoba, this place, on Saturday. This is our destination. So if we're implying this is a destination, we're saying we're leaving for. Again, por does mean for, but we have to use para because it is a destination. The second D is for deadline, by or for. And again, we kind of touched on this in the first slide. Él va a terminar su tarea para el viernes. He's going to finish his homework by Friday. Okay, by, or at the very end. This is due this day. Okay, para el viernes. So from here on out in the future, and I've done this already, you just might not have noticed. If I say something is due this day, there isn't really a word for due. It's rather we're just going to say by, right? Para is our due or our by X date. I is for in order to. This is my favorite one. It's so common and it's so easy to spot. In order to, we're talking about purpose or goal. plus an infinitive. AR, ER, IR verb is going to come right after it. And it's such an easy one to spot because if you have a blank and then you have an infinitive verb coming after, boom. Like 95% of the time, it's going to be para. Para ser profesor, se necesita paciencia. Ooh, that would be a se impersonal. But notice ser. Ser is a not conjugated verb, infinitive. Para ser, in order to be a teacher or a professor, one needs patience. I know. Se necesita paciencia. Patience is needed, right? One needs patience. But notice, ser is our infinitive here. There's an infinitive, boom, in order to. Just think. You replace this whole word para for in order to. In order to be a teacher, patience is needed. In order to. Moving on. Purpose. For. Use for. Typically followed by a noun. Es una llanta para el carro. A llanta, ladies and gentlemen, is a tire. Like the wheel on the car. Not like inside, but like this part. Okay, right here. Es una llanta para el carro. Purpose is for the car, right? Notice the noun coming after, right? Its purpose. The purpose of the tire is for the car, coming with a noun right after. Purpose. What is it for? For the car. R is for recipient. Recipient meaning someone's going to receive this thing. Compré una flor para mi madre. I bought a flower for my mom. I bought a flower for my mom. My mom is the recipient of this action. She is receiving it. Therefore, I'm going to say para and not por. Cars. Short for comparison. Comparison for or considering. Para mí, esta lección no es difícil. Which means what? Because you've seen something like this before. What would this mean? Para mí, esta lección no es difícil. For me, to me, this lesson isn't difficult, right? Para mí, para ti, para él, para ella. To this person, to them, we're comparing because it's not for everyone, right? Before or considering me and my skills, this lesson is easy, not difficult, okay? Comparison for this one. Y last one is for employment, okay? And I'm going to get to why this one's a little bit tricky, but we'll go over some examples. Sara trabaja para Telecom Argentina. Para. She works for this company. This is her employer. This is where she's employed. Therefore, we have to use para and not por because this is her employer, okay? Her job. Para. Now, this one is a little tricky sometimes because sometimes it could be por. And I'm going to go over those reasons in a second. Okay, but don't forget, dumb drivers in places race cars early. You're welcome. Okay, there are a few idiomatic expressions, meaning they just always have por in them. Okay, that's just a rule. That's just how it works. And you've seen a lot of these before. Por ejemplo, for example, por eso, therefore, por favor, por fin, por lo general, por lo menos, por supuesto, por aquí. I would expect that you know at least 90% of these. You might not know one or two, but if you don't know one or two, please write it down. Por favor, sí, por favor. Write it down. That way you have access to it in the future. Write them all down if you really feel like it, okay? But these are our por idiomatic expressions. They do not change. You do not use para. You don't say para ejemplo. We always say por, okay? Always say por ejemplo. Okay. These are our tricky ones, okay? In many cases, it is grammatically correct to use either por or para in a sentence, but the meaning of the sentence will change. So let's take a look at some examples here. Caminé por el parque. Caminé para el parque. I want you to take a second on that head puzzle to tell me what would caminé por el parque mean. What about caminé para el parque? Notice they are both grammatically correct, but they change the meaning of the sentence. First one, caminé por el parque. I walked through the park, or by, or around. Any one of those indicating movement, right? I walked through, or around, or by, whatever, the park. Whereas if I were to use para, and again, we're still indicating movement, but we're indicating destination, right? I walk to or towards, like the park is my destination, to or towards. So is it through, or is it the park is the end goal here, okay? Again, they're both grammatically correct, but they change the meaning of the sentence. One more I'm going to look at. This is a tricky one. Él trabajó por su padre. Él trabajó para su padre. So let's take a look at this one first. Él trabajó por su padre. Again, answering it on the egg puzzle. What would this mean? This one would mean he worked for or in place of his father. Okay, he took the place of his dad in this case, right? Not working for him in that sense, but took his place. He's like, oh, my dad can't do it today. I'm going to step in for. Whereas para would mean or indicate for. Yeah, for. They both mean for. But for his father's company, for this employer. Okay, his father is his employer in this case. That is why we're going to use para. Okay, his father's company, that business, whatever. Okay, para. Again, though, changing the meaning of the sentence. They are both correct, but you have to be careful on which one you are meaning when you're talking about the sentence. Okay, so be careful in cases like this. Again, kind of like pretérito and imperfecto. Sometimes it could be either or, but changes the meaning of the sentence. Es la hora de practicar, chicos. Sí, vamos a practicar un poco. Your job is going to be to fill in the blank, okay? Fill in the blank. We're just going to pause the egg puzzle all the way through. You're going to pick por or para, and then you're going to tell me why you are picking por or para after, okay? So you pick, what's it called? Multiple choice, por or para, and then in the blank, tell me why. So, ¿tienes planes para hoy? Voy al mercado. And this is a dialogue, okay? Between two people. ¿Tienes planes para hoy? Voy al mercado. Something que. Por o para. And now tell me the reason why. Put in the blank there. You can use any one of those words from our idiomatic expression, or not our idiomatic expressions, our, what's it called? Acronym, okay? Use any one of those in order to, destination, whatever, okay? The reason we use por is because of reason, okay? R. The reason is R. Reason. ¿Por qué? What's the reason behind it? If there's a reason. ¿Por qué? Why? Also, we typically always say ¿por qué, right? ¿Por qué? Why? ¿Cuándo, when, qué, what's, anywhere? Okay. Something, comprar fresas, manzanas, peras, y uvas. So we'll pause right there. First blank. First blank. Gonna be por or para. Now, second blank. Por or para hacer una ensalada de frutas. Second blank. Por or para. Okay, and then our last thing, what's my reasoning? And the reasoning is the same. Hint, hint, wink, wink. The reasoning is the same for both of these. What's your reason? Why did you pick por or para? Ding, ding, ding. In order to buy strawberries, apples, pears, and grapes, in order to make a fruit salad. Yummy, yummy. Okay, una ensalada de frutas. Para comprar, para hacer. Boom, right there. Comprar, hacer. Two infinitive verbs. What did I tell you? If you see an infinitive, almost always going to be para. In order to. Think that in your head. In order to. Times two. And we're moving on. ¿A qué hora vas? Voy something la tarde. Por or para. And what is your reason why? Por or para, por or para. Time, duration. Okay, voy por la tarde. I'm going in the afternoon, by the afternoon, this time of the afternoon. There's a time frame kind of sort of here, right, in the afternoon, this time frame, duration of time, por, okay, por la tarde. It's also kind of like an idiomatic expression, right? When you learn time in Spanish 1, you learn por la noche, por la tarde, por la mañana, right? We don't really say para la tarde. We're talking about this duration of time, por. Moving on, un poco más práctica. Okay, one more dialogue to go through. Different conversation. ¿Dónde trabajas? Trabajo por para la compañía Microtel. Por para. And then tell me the reason why. Why are you picking por or para? Para, for employment. Okay, I work for this company, Microtel, whatever company. This is my employer. I'm not working on behalf of them, right? I'm not taking their place for the day. They're my employer. Para. En donde queda? Like, where is it located? Where does it stay? Where is it located? Está por, para el centro. Por or para. And then why? Why are you picking por or para? Give me a reason using one of those acronyms. Por. Está por el centro. Movement, meaning you're reading through, along, by, right? We're talking about the location of this place. Está por el centro. It's along the town. It's through the town. It's kind of by the town, right? We're talking about the location of this thing. So movement or through, along, or by would be your keyword as to why you are using each or this por. ¿Y qué haces allí? And what do you do there? Preparo informes por or para clientes internacionales. And then give me a reason why. Por or para, por or para. Para, in this case, because recipient. Yes, I prepare reports for international clients. These are the people receiving the reports. Suena aburrido. ¿Te gusta? First blank. Por or para. Un trabajo de oficina no está mal. Por or para. And then tell me your reason why. Por or para. In this case, para, because comparison, right? For a work, for a job of the office, for an office job, it's not bad. See, for this kind of thing, it's not bad. For me, for you, for whatever, for an office job, comparing it to a zookeeper job, I don't know. Para un trabajo de oficina no está mal. Para. Preparo 2 o 3 informes por or para semana nada más. Por or para. And then tell me your reason why. Por or para. Por duration of time. Preparo 2 o 3 informes por semana, nada más. I prepare 2 or 3 reports per week, right? Nothing more. Duration of time. By this week. In this time frame, per week. If you want to say per, that's fine too, okay? Por semana, nada más. So again, duration or like the by or the unit of measure, duration of time. Either one of those is fine. Okay, but por, not para. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is it. That is all we're going to do for now. We will be working with por and para a lot over the next week and a half. You will be quizzed on this, so please start memorizing the reasons. Okay, why are we picking which thing? Obviously, we got a 50-50 shot every time, so in that case, it's a little easier, but I want you to know why you're picking each one. So use the acronyms. Make sure you review those. Make sure you got those down. If you got to go back in this video, please go back. No se olviden que no hay clase este viernes. Hopefully you're not doing this on Sunday at 10 p.m. But nos vemos el lunes. Sí, nos vemos el lunes el 29, creo. Sí, el 29. This is due then. So get it done. Nos vemos y adiós.